Welcome to the Logic Loop, the podcast where strategy meets story and community drives growth.
This is your space for bite-sized, high-impact conversations on marketing, entrepreneurship, and the tech shaping our industry.
I'm Faith Boone, founder of Boone Logic, and my co-host is Sam Hale, Boone Logic's Director of Digital Content. Today, we're talking about the importance of effective leadership, and I'll specifically be sharing some of the things I've been learning in my Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses cohort.
It has been so fun to hear Faith update me on all the stuff she's learning as she's going through the program. So I'm excited to dive more into that. But to start, I think we should just kind of speed run, in our opinion, some of key things for leadership. Because one of the things we bonded over when I was my interview for Boone Logic, now almost 3 years ago, which is crazy. We trauma bonded over some bad leadership experiences we've both had in the past, which, unfortunately is, I think, very common. And a lot of it is when it feels like your boss doesn't trust you, like you have the micromanagement, the expectations, but they don't verbalize them. So everyone's kind of left on different pages. Those are some of the key things for me, where it would have been so easy to avoid everything if the leader set clear expectations, trust the people that you hire, which is a wild concept. Why would you hire someone if you don't trust them to do the job?
Exactly. Yeah. I worked at an organization that had a set of values that they did not follow very well. Core values that they expected everyone that was part of the organization to follow, but the leadership didn't follow it themselves. It was so difficult to deal with that because not only is it affecting your day-to-day work, but you're taking that home with you.
Mm-hmm.
It messes with your productivity. It messes with the confidence that you have in yourself and your capability to do your work. And there's just different ways to handle that. There are different ways to communicate how to help an employee make changes or how to reveal to them areas of improvement and things like that. And yeah, I think we both had experiences where we didn't necessarily receive the respect that we deserved. And there was a lack of integrity in the leadership.
Yeah, which is huge. And even you can be aware that it's not on you. You can be aware that it's a issue with leadership, but it's so hard to not internalize it anyway. Especially, I feel like I'm a very empathetic person, so I internalize everything. I will make things my fault that are not my fault, and my brain knows that, but I'm still do better. So when you have those leaders that just aren't leading, and it's kind of, a lot of them follow the there's a whole saying about it, but it's rules for thee, not for me, is kind of the vibe that they bring into, which it's been great working with Faith, because instead of that, we have clear expectations, which means better results for everyone. So why more people don't just explicitly communicate, which prior to recording this, we were just talking about how we took a test, guys, and the Boone Logic team is all excellent communicators. So that ties in very well. But it's not just effectively setting expectations, directions, what you're looking for, but then also being able to listen. And I worked for several organizations that it felt like the leadership wasn't listening. They might listen, in air quotes, as a formality, but they're not actually hearing what you're saying, and they're not going to do anything about it, which is just going to then in turn not make your employee want, I was going to say serve you, which serve the organization, put their best foot forward, because they're not being valued. It all, like you said, it all goes back to respect should be at the forefront of everything.
Yeah. And I just feel that it's so important for everyone that's a part of an organization to have input into what makes the organization what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission which, is still somewhat under development, but it's very much focused on the fact that we are storytellers, and that alone lets you know that we are communicators and that we pride ourselves on that.
Yeah.
And as I started Boone Logic by myself. And so the only person I had to communicate with was me. And then LV came on. And then me and her has learned how to communicate with each other. And it was very different because LV is in the Philippines. We have a 13-hour difference when I'm waking up. He's trying to go to bed. And so we only have so many hours of the day to communicate. And they are essential. But we have found a way to make it that we know what each other is doing, even if we don't get a chance to cross paths. So I think that just that foundation of making sure that we're over communicating with each other, even when it was just the two of us, was really important. And then when Sam came on, it was amplified to the 10th degree, because Sam was not only Sam is an amazing communicator, whether it's internally or externally with clients. And I feel like the way that Sam communicates has helped us grow as well, and that we stay more on top of things. We stay on track with projects more because you do check in often, and I can see how important communication is to you as well. You and LB do a great job with the clients that you work with together on communicating with each other and making sure that you guys find time to connect, even though there's also a 13-hour difference for you guys too. And now, luckily, you're just in Tennessee and I'm in Cleveland. So
same time zone.
Same time zone. Very lucky about a little bit further west if we would have had some issues.
Yeah.
It's always been important. And I think that also goes to our journalism background in doing anything marketing, public relations, media relations, all of those things, all the skills that we have that we put into the work that we do are all focused on communication. Because there's nothing gets done when you don't communicate with each other. And so leadership does not understand how to communicate with their workers, or does not understand how to listen, as you mentioned that, then everything's going to fall apart. Yeah. They will have to either start over or close up shop. You have to learn how to talk to your people. And of course, there's more than just respect and integrity that goes into that. But if that's not your baseline, then you really need to reevaluate, because everybody's input really matters. I don't care if it's a huge organization that there's a CEO and there's a janitor. That janitor sees a lot more in the day-to-day than that CEO does from their office. So everybody has input, and it means so much to make sure that people feel included as well, and that their feedback and their input matters. Oftentimes there are leaders out there that say that your input matters, but the suggestion box has been full since 2 Januaries ago. So, you got to stay on top of it. Communication is ongoing too. It's not like, oh, we did it once and then that's
it's like that's not enough. Like you said, needing to set that baseline, and if you don't have that, the baseline is like the foundation. If you don't have it to begin with, your company is not going to scale up. And obviously we want effective leadership because we want people to care about and value their employees. Like that's the ideal scenario. But let's say all they care about is the bottom line. You still need to effectively communicate, respect, collaborate, which is our favorite word, with your team, because that's how you succeed. So even if people are just looking at it from like, I want the business to be more successful, you need your entire team involved working together. And when people feel valued and feel like they're in a healthy work environment, they're going to be more motivated to go above and beyond. And, that's a whole different question. Like people should not be doing 3 times the work for the low pay. We're not, know your worth, but to even just do more than bare minimum to put their best foot forward to help like actively want the business to succeed and care about the business rather than just waiting for their paycheck on Friday.
Right. Yeah. All of that funnels into what I'm about to say about resonating with the company that you're with and finding that connection. So every worker that, works with a company, hopefully they enjoy it, that they enjoy their work. Hopefully, I hope that you guys don't see your work as much. I hope it seems like it's fun or like puzzles or games. That's why I have the puzzle pieces in the logo. It's so important for the leadership to make sure that everybody is fitting where they're supposed to be fitting. So aside from the communication part, like once you get that input, the next piece of that is everybody at where they want to be at? Are we meeting them where they are and where do they want to go? It was very important for me to make sure that Sam knew when she came on as a marketing associate that it wasn't going to end there. I saw all of the talent and skills that you have, and that's why you're the director of digital content now. And you oversee not just all the social media, but you play a very big part in the strategy of all of our digital content that goes out for Boone Logic and for all of our clients. And that, for me, is a great fit for you. It helps me move away a little bit from doing more of that digital content myself, knowing that you are the one making a lot of these strategies in the background and I'm giving my input to you, but I don't need to be at the head of that. And that right there, delegation is one of the hardest things I've recognized from, just networking events and my cohort through Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses. Is like trying to separate yourself from your business is so hard, but having someone on your team that you can trust to delegate things to or to make sure that everything's not going to go up in flames is also really important. And good leaders can recognize that in the people on their team.
Definitely. And I just want to make mention when you said making sure your people are in the right positions, it made me think, I believe it was Creative Views who gave us the Traction recommendation. So shout out to them. And Traction is a book by Gino Wickman, which, yes, she has her copy in hand.
It's here. And you can see Traction at least.
Oh, there we go. There we go. And it was a great book. And that was one of the key points was saying you can have great employees, but making sure they're in the right position for not only your business, but what the employee is looking for and what their skill set is massive. And even before, I got my little promotion from marketing associate, like Faith made sure to connect with me and be like, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to see yourself grow? Because if that wasn't something that aligned with what I was looking for, her putting me in that position probably wouldn't go well. I mean, obviously, that is exactly what I was looking for. And I was like signing up. But that was a perfect example of effective leadership because before making that decision, she sought input, made sure that we were aligned on that, and then took that next step and moved forward. I think that was before we even read Traction. So like you were ahead of the game.
I definitely owe a lot of my leadership technique savvy in the background to other leadership programs that I've been through. When I worked at Channel 5, Scripps had a leadership program. Forgive me, Scripps. I don't remember what it was called. There's nothing online about it now. But they tapped me at one point to be a leadership champion along with one of the reporters at Channel 5. And we were two people that we were sent out to the middle of Kentucky to do some scare your soul leadership, but also to learn more about communication and looking at, where people fit in an organization. And it wasn't even that, we weren't the CEOs or the general managers or anything. We were workers that were a part of the organization, but being able to see it from that perspective while also scaring your soul. We had to do some very death defying things, 30 feet up into the air. that I was not prepared for at all. I won't be doing
Yeah.
that again. But like seeing all of those things, going through those sessions, talking about how to be effective leaders was so helpful and important. And then we got to go and convey that information back to our team at Channel 5. And we had so much fun with it. I really love leadership training, and I love helping employees feel more a part of the organization that they are involved with. So after Channel 5, I started working for a nonprofit that was very focused on leadership. So I learned some things there. But I really learned, I've learned an astronomical amount about leadership and communication and your people and yourself and everything from Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small businesses. This is by far the cream of the crop when it comes to leadership training, entrepreneurial molding, and things like that. I can't give away too many details. The only thing I will do is hype people up and get them to try and be a part of this, because there's if you apply and you get accepted, you get to go to it for free. And the price tag that should be on this should be very high. It's invaluable. And I'm learning so much because I'm surrounded by other leaders who know how to communicate to this audience of entrepreneurs. I can't say it enough how important communication is. It's just the crux of it all, right? I mean, we can be worker bees all day, but if we're not talking to each other, if we're sitting in silos, if we're turning to AI to make the conversation happen or to fill in the void of communication, the human element that keeps missing in communication, it can't continue to be missing. Like we have to fill that gap, and it can't be with a robot.
Exactly.
Everyone already knows how extroverted I am. I walk into a room very bubbly and ready to like hug everybody. I don't care if I've known you for 5 seconds or 5 years. I'm gonna hug you as long as you're okay with that. I'm a hype girl. I will hype you up all day, all day long. Like that's just, I love that. And it's not necessarily because throughout my life I had a hype person. Like my mom told me she loved me and that was beautiful all the time. Thanks, Mom. I really appreciate that. But I didn't necessarily have that outside force that was always hyping me up. And so I love hyping people up. I love letting people know that they are amazing at what they do, that their talents are insurmountable, that they have so much potential, or that their success, they might not even see it themselves. I had a very interesting conversation with an old friend yesterday that I hadn't seen since college, and she had no idea the way that she has inspired me over the last decade without us saying 2 words to each other. But she has communicated what she has been doing through social media and through her art. And she's a huge inspiration to me. And when I told her that, she was kind of like taken aback. And there's not enough hype people up there.
Yeah.
Like
recognition is huge. Like that's one of my, it's so cheesy, but that's like one of my goals this year is when you have something positive you think about someone, like whether you know them, whether you're scrolling, because I'm a passive scroller. Like I'll like stuff, but I don't really comment on stuff. But I was like, that's kind of silly. Like people are putting themselves out there. If I see something and I like it, they might not read it, especially on social media, but tell them. What does it hurt? I mean, the whole point, especially of the Logic Loop, this community we're trying to build, is to collaborate with people, to recognize what they're doing, to hype them up. And what am I doing if I'm not doing that in my personal life? So I love that, the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business program you're in, like you were saying, is all these like hype people supporting each other, understanding that we can all succeed together, and that recognizing people, supporting people, it's not a detriment to you. All it does is help all of us. Yeah. And that's the way I feel like we want to succeed, is not by putting other people down, but by all supporting and building people up together. We talked a bit before about internalizing stuff, and can be really easy to, looking at your own work, see what you don't like, the things that you need to improve on. And it's easy to kind of beat yourself down on that and then not realize, like, one of our clients, shout out Diana, is another amazing hype woman. I mean, I'll send her stuff and I'll be frustrated because I'm like, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. But like, it needs to get out. I'm going to send it to her, see what she thinks, go from there. And most of the time, it's all stuff in my head because she's like, I just sent her a batch for a special campaign we're doing. And I was frustrated and I was like, I could have done better for her because she deserves the world. And she comes back, she goes, this is amazing. I sent you a ton of stuff and was like, I hope that's enough for her to work with. And she goes, and you did it. You put it together. This is perfect. And that made probably my week, definitely my day. But just her, instead of just, she could have just been like, that's fine, approved. But she always makes a point to say how much she appreciates the work that we do, the effort we put in. And it makes such a difference. And that's one of the many reasons why we have such a great working relationship with her, is because I genuinely love working with and for her, which is, even from a client perspective, effective leadership. She's a great communicator. She gives us what we need. And it makes me want to always be doing top tier work for her, like above and beyond. If Diana needs something, sign me up. Like,
and the thing is with again, shout out to Diana, Rosa Consulting, the Ivan Rosa Memorial Foundation. Both organizations are amazing and doing amazing work here in Cleveland and beyond. But she doesn't stop with sending you that recognition through email, Sam. We can't have a meeting without at least 5 minutes of her praising you for your amazingness. She is a woman of her word, and she's a beautiful soul. That is someone who, I don't know if I've ever said it to her, but I consider her a mentor of mine because of the way that she treats people.
Yeah.
She is so amazing to everyone who works for her. She's amazing to us as one of her vendors. And she really does. She hypes people up wherever she goes. And she keeps a smile on her face, and she keeps it stepping. She lost her husband last year. It was either last year or the year before. And that's why she started the Ivan Rosa Memorial Foundation. And even through that, she hypes people up. I mean, it's all about making a change, collecting your change to make a change. She makes you feel warm, and she makes you feel heard. And more than the warmth, the heard is so, so important. Not to say that we love all of our clients. This is not to say that any of you are not also warm and very helpful.
Right. This just happened. Top of mind example of, what we were talking about today. We could have a very long podcast of me listing examples from all of our clients.
I'm thinking about the bosses that I've had over the years and the different leadership styles, because everybody's different. But I had one boss who didn't necessarily show emotion up front very often. Pretty straightforward with me, making sure I was doing what I needed to do, but they were still a hype man. And to this day, I carry this around with me every day. I was in their office one day and I was writing on their whiteboard, showing them this idea I had for some data visualization that I wanted to put together. It was going to take quite a bit of research and things. And they told me that they thought that I was possibly a genius. And hyperbole, exaggeration, I don't care. They told me that, and they gave me a book called Linchpin. And they told me that I was a linchpin. And I actually didn't have that job much longer after this happened. But it stays with me to this day. I have that book on my bookshelf very close to me. And I hear them telling me how brilliant I am almost every day. I remind myself that someone saw something in me that I've been trying so hard to get other people to see. And them doing that for me really instilled in me how important it is for me to do that for the people that work for me and that work with me, because I don't just like hyping up my team. I love hyping up our clients too and letting them know that they're doing a great job and that they're really making a difference and that I'm inspired and in awe of the ways that they make and the communities that they serve.
And I think that's like the best way to close off this episode, is showing that like you had an effective leader who was able to show you that you were in their own way, because not everyone is going to be like, yelling and sending emojis and stuff, but in their own way made it very clear that they saw your talent, they saw your passion, that you were valued and respected. And because of that, you've now brought that to your team and beyond. So when we can build up, even if like you yourself, our listeners, aren't in a leadership position, if you can influence and inspire and help instill those values in other leaders, it makes that ripple effect where when we can build up leaders in other places, it's going to set the stage for leaders to come. Because when people you can learn a lot from bad examples. Faith and I have learned that. You learn what not to do. But obviously, the more ideal way is to have good examples that you can then take those values that you benefited from and be able to offer those to your team, your community, even if it's not in a 9 to 5 paying the bills role, in your community, church, volunteer organizations, wherever you may be, you can have a positive impact and you can help, train up the next generation of leaders and beyond.
Yeah. There's a quote: the people that influence you, you may not remember their faces or their names or what they said, but you will remember how they made you feel. And that means a lot to me. I want to make sure that when people interact with me, that they always leave with a good feeling. That is the reputation that I am trying to create through Boone Logic, is that we care about your story and we want you to feel good after you've been with us.
Exactly. So that's what we have on leadership. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. If you believe that strong relationships are the foundation of great storytelling, then the Logic Loop community is the place for you.
Check out the show notes for more ways you can get involved, and we hope you will tune in again for our next episode of the Logic Loop.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.